We're gonna get our last hostility out. We're all hostile to each other.
Rah!
We're all like O'Reilly. We're all just like, this fucking thing. What are you doing? Hello. Live from our respective quarantines, it's Thanks for Writing. We're all here. The gang's all here again. Mr. Muffy. We're coming to you live from multiple cities. In light of the current events in the world, well, we already talked about, we kind of freestyled on a lot of our thoughts on this whole thing and how it's going to affect amusement parks and the industry going forward. But something came out recently, and in the form of a leaked survey from Universal Orlando, really, that sent the survey out. I suppose it could apply to either coast. And they're basically trying to feel out, I guess, where people are in their heads with what they're going to want to see, what they're going to expect, perhaps, what they're going to definitely maybe not want to see, what they'll be afraid to visit the park if it's in a certain, format. They're just trying to figure out, I guess, what they need to do to reopen. I mean, currently, as we're recording this, all amusement parks across the nation, as far as I know, are closed still. No one's reopened yet. This is one of the first times I've seen something like this. A major park company, one of the two big boys, put it out to the people, trying to figure out, hey, what do we think we need to do to reopen? What's going to make you feel comfortable? Obviously, they don't want numbers to be really dismal for the rest of the year. They don't want to, they want to try to make people feel good. I guess they are looking for advice. So, I don't know. I thought it'd be interesting. Let's go through it. Let's go through some of these questions. Full frontal honesty here. We don't have the complete survey in front of us, but we have a number of the leaked questions and the general idea of what the whole thing was about. So let's start with this because, again, I don't know exactly how the survey, what order it went in, but this is interesting to me. So the first thing they come up with here that I see is once state governments permit it, Universal Orlando will reopen. How likely are you to consider visiting if the park reopens following its pre-coronavirus standard operating and safety procedures? So straight up, they want to know right off the bat, if we just don't change anything, how likely are you to visit? And the answers are the basic stock stuff. Very likely, undecided, unlikely, or very unlikely.
I feel like I want more information. Is this like literally the day after it's okay? And like they want to know...
Well, they kind of do say that. Yeah, it says,
the next day.
Once state governments permit it, Universal Orlando will reopen. The first part is a statement. Okay. They're just saying, as soon as we can, we're going to reopen. If we don't change anything, how likely are you to come?
Right away? Not at all.
Okay. So let's just start there.
Just starting there.
You may have more thoughts about it, even if they do change some stuff, but we'll get there.
Yeah.
So to start, for Coaster Cat, she ain't going. So you're saying very unlikely.
Yes.
Okay.
This is to kind of ease you into the fact that there will be changes, I think. They're kind of, it's almost like a trick. They're not really asking you. They're basically, if they're telling you things are going to change, how likely are you going to come? Is it that you're going to come to this park afterwards?
But how would you answer that question? How would you, if they change nothing, how likely would you be to go?
Oh, no.
So you're also very unlikely.
No for me. That's a no for me. Well, because I'm not just thinking about myself, I'm thinking about other people. And who lives in Florida? Old people. Who goes to parks? Grandmas taking their grandchildren.
Maybe not as much in Universal. Just keep. We're not talking Disney for this one. I mean, this all can apply, I'm sure, but
it's almost a little bit of a trick because there's no way you can answer. Okay, so no, I say no.
We're recording this about a week after we did the previous episode on the state of the parks with coronavirus, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I still think that the parks will not reopen anytime soon. So you're saying when the state allows them to reopen?
Well, yeah, it's like based on the way this is worded, though, they're kind of indicating that, yeah, by saying once we can, we'll open, that it will be the beginning of that interim period that we kind of talked about in the last episode on this, where virus is definitely not history yet. It's very real. It's still out there. It's gotten better, but there's still a risk every time you go out in public. So I think that's where this question is sort of coming from. So, it's not to say that we're going to wait until, spring of 2021 and just, because then it would be a different answer perhaps. Yeah, if we change nothing, but we wait 2 years, then it's like, all right, well, that's different.
Right, and I think if they were to change nothing, they would have to wait like a year, which I don't think they're going to. I think they're going to open with certain precautions taken. But if they change nothing and say, I don't know. I mean, this is a hard question to answer because, again, I don't know a time frame. If you're saying in a month, the state says in a month from now, so that would be about mid-May. Yeah, okay, you're clear to open, and they didn't change anything, then no, I'm very unlikely to go. But if it's 10 months, I don't know at that point. Maybe? That's a pretty big maybe, but maybe?
Well, then you're more undecided at that point.
Yeah. So it really depends. I just don't know based on how this thing develops. Right now, it's a no.
Right.
It's a no until I get more information.
I think you have to almost assume that sort of May 15th, somewhere between May 15th and June 1st kind of thing.
Okay, well then no.
So yes, for me, I think I'll make it 4 for 4. Very unlikely to go if they change nothing, opening in somewhere in the next 6 weeks.
Well, who are they sending this survey to? Who did they send this to? Did they send it to just people that are like fanatics or just everybody?
You probably are a fanatic if you belong to their advisory panel, because that's what it is. I think it's an actual survey panel that you join.
Okay, so if you joined it, then you're super in. You bought in. Just
because we feel one way, I could see it being split. If anything.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah.
I'm sure the locals are more okay with it because Florida is not as hasn't been hit as hard, but other parts of the country, I think it depends where you are in the country and or what part of the world you live in, and you'll get a different answer. So what that accumulates to, I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's not clean cut. The thing about the Florida parks though is they're based on. There is a lot of local business. A lot of people who love theme parks move there purposely to be close to all those year-round parks. But, they're still really driven by tourism. So by them being open, it's a big, hey, come on down. We're ready to go. And you're inviting people from everywhere else. So it's not as simple as that area, how hard that area has been hit. Because then what do? You open your gates, but you say, but if you're from New York, you're not allowed.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
You're immediately inviting everyone, even people from the hard hit areas, to come there.
Right.
And then how long does that take to create a major spike and a major wave there?
Yeah, you're right. There's a lot of other factors that go into answering that question because it could depend what kind of job you have, what industry you're in, if that's driven by theme parks or just the local Orlando area, or if this applies to Hollywood, the Hollywood area as well, or if it applies to if you just even have money to spend.
I think with that question, they're trying to figure out your demographic, and they're trying to put you in a bucket with that question immediately so that they can put you in whatever, this graph. So with that question, you can immediately separate out the people that are the fanatics and the people that aren't affected or don't care. Whatever, they're not wearing the face masks. They want their haircuts. Those people from the more cautious people that are maybe more of your average Joe, your family. That's just going there maybe once every couple of years. So you're immediately separating those out. So then you can get more granular with your data point.
Yeah, that's a good point. It has been reported that there are different versions of the survey, and I wonder if perhaps your answer to that, again, assuming that that's the first question, I don't know for sure, but it seems like it would be a setup question. So perhaps your answer, depending on your answer to that, it might go different directions. So then, basically, well, yeah. So once that happens, I guess there's that question. Then you kind of go into questions about, or just setting up ideas about, different things that could happen that will be different. That will not be just the same business as usual. It reads, below you will find various measures that could help protect the health and safety of our guests and team members. We would like you to evaluate each of these measures by telling us how you would feel if it was implemented by Universal theme parks. The answer, so we won't go through answers after this because it's pretty much the same for all the remaining questions. It's either this would make me feel more comfortable, this is a basic requirement for me, this would not affect me, this would be a minor inconvenience for me, or this would be a major problem for me. Okay. So we go from, it makes you, it's going to be positive for you, it'll make you feel more comfortable, to it's an actual requirement. Like, I'm not going unless this is there. You have the indifferent response, and then you have it's either a minor or major inconvenience.
Right. This is an attack on me.
In my head, this is such not an issue. It should be the same as it always was. And I'm just going to be annoyed if this is there. I guess that's how I take that.
And if you have that, it's just going to be all across the board. You're just going to circle that same answer.
Oh yeah, and the people who are really, people who think this is a hoax and all that good stuff. I mean, oh yeah, major inconvenience. Let's start with so it starts with requiring all guests to wear face masks.
It's just such a logistical nightmare that I can't even wrap my head around answering it.
I know, it really is ridiculous. I guess, all right, I'll jump out here with this first. Like, for me, it's like, well...
Okay, let me ask again. Are we talking about the day it reopens when the virus is still pretty active?
It's like...
Yeah, do we need to set, like, a baseline date before we answer the rest of these?
Yeah.
You want to go... It can't be too far out. You want to go with, like, the May 15th?
Well, let's at least go June 1st.
Want to go June 1st? We'll say June 1st.
Okay, we're saying that it's June 1st. Okay.
It's like, okay, I mean, I guess for that one, because face masks isn't like, it's not that big a deal. It's like, I guess that would just make me feel more comfortable. But what I wanted to say actually before that was that, all this is it's kind of silly because I guess for me, it's like, I'm not going to bother going before things have calmed down further. Mm-hmm. And I don't have to worry so much about any of this. So for me, it's like these kind of things are splitting hairs, or some of it's even going to be moot. It's just like, I don't know, if this is that rampant still out there, it's like, I don't think I'm going to bother going. So
if you have to ask the question,
and I am an enthusiast, and we'll go through it. I'll just get this out now, and then we'll go backward and take another step back again. But even being an enthusiast, but I also have been there recently and everything, so I guess I'm also coming from that place. It's like, I don't know, none of this is that work. I mean, I can skip a year if I needed to, I guess, is the bottom line. So it's like, not going to 2021 is not a big deal for me.
Okay, but it says something like, if you are going to come, how does this make you feel? What does it say?
Right, so all right, I got that out there. So now it's like, all right, again, how would it make you feel as long as we're requiring face masks for everybody, for guests? It didn't say employees. I'm sure that'll be a separate question, I'm sure. And it would make me feel more comfortable. If I'm going, or if for some reason I have to go on June 1st, it's like I get to feel more comfortable with that. Sure.
If we were going on June 1st, that would definitely be a requirement for me.
You're going to go base requirement for you. Okay.
Yeah.
You're going to go there. Okay.
For on June 1st?
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
How about you guys?
Yeah, I would say it would make me feel more comfortable, I suppose. I don't see it as like an inconvenience. They're not that uncomfortable. It would just be kind of hard to hear other people a little bit, maybe, when they're speaking. I mean, and I agree that it would become a logistical nightmare on rides because they're not all going to stay in place. And then what do you do with them if they fly off, or if you have to secure them, or all this stuff? I mean, I don't know if I should really even be talking about that, but then what else are you going to do when you're in Universal? You're going to ride rides.
Well, it's just like Hulk. That's a really and Rocket right
now.
And
the water
rides. To an extent too.
What are you going to do on the water rides?
I guess they're just shut down.
Kick the people's soup out of your mouth.
Gross.
It would both make me feel more comfortable, and it's also a major problem.
Yeah, I guess that's what I'm saying too.
Well, they're not mutually exclusive. It's inconvenient, and it makes me feel more comfortable. It's
a major
both of
problem
them.
for you. Or you don't think about what the park has to go through right now.
No, it would be a major problem because I have to worry about having this thing on me at all times. What if it falls off? What if I rip it? What if it breaks? What if I lose it? What?
What if you're on the ride and it flies off from one guest and it hits you?
Ooh.
And covered in coronavirus.
You're just walking on the walkway or something, or if you're in a seat behind someone and face mask hits you.
There's going to be more stuff floating around with these face masks being on the ground because there's just going to be one solid layer of face masks on the ground. So you're just going to be wading through these infected face masks that have been discarded by people. It's worse than just not having one. I don't know. I guess at the end of the day, this hypothetical thing, it would make me feel more comfortable.
Well, yeah, I mean, if we're talking June 1st and I'm going there, but I'm not riding rides, I'm just walking around and soaking in the atmosphere or whatever, I guess it would have to be a requirement. But then that's just incredibly silly at that point. Because what am I even saying? What did I just spend $100 and some odd for?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I know. That's why a lot of this stuff is just like, what is it? Like, just skip the year then.
Right.
Even if you're not especially if you're not an enthusiast, then it means even less to you then, actually.
And could you imagine having your family of 15 kids and you have to make sure they all have their face masks on and they're crying and when they want to eat cotton candy and they can't eat the cotton candy if they have the face mask and then it gets dirty and then it's just...
Yeah, it's like, what do you do when you eat, though? Because then it has to be
exactly.
I don't know. Yeah, I guess the required face mask does seem just impossible, really. It's not even that it's a logistical nightmare. It just becomes impossible. Like, how does that work? And how do you enforce that?
And
yeah,
I think
security around the park, and they have to actually stop people when it's off.
Yeah.
They're like, sorry, sir, you gotta have it on.
Another one of those, they're trying to separate out the fanatics from the regulars, and I think they're just trying to gauge how soon they should reopen. If they can wait that full year, or if people are like banging on the doors trying to get in. They're like, I don't care if I have to wear a face mask. I gotta get in here. I think they're trying to gauge when they should reopen.
Yeah, maybe they know darn well that there's no way they're ever going to have to be able to do a face mask requirement. Let's just see what people save to these things, and then they'll kind of give us an idea about when we can actually reopen.
Yes.
Something also to keep in mind though is that this is Universal, the whole package, so they could also just be looking at opening City Walk first, and still no parks yet. That at least takes the ride aspect out of it.
Oh, okay.
Perhaps a City Walk with mandatory masks. I could see a period of that. That would make more sense.
And then you just lift it up for eating?
I guess.
Put a straw hole in it for your margarita.
God.
Yeah.
You just cut your face hole in there and you're fine.
Right, because that doesn't defeat the purpose of it at all. Okay.
Let's change gears here. So another thing they're throwing out there is implementing touch-free payment for food, merchandise, and parking.
Well, I don't understand why they don't have that already.
Right.
Okay.
All right, no, they do though at Volcano Bay, Tapu Tapu. They already have it, so just do it in the parks. What's the problem there?
Well, basically, that's almost like, how quickly should we get that going? Because we know that's going to eventually happen. We've been talking about that already.
Right.
Yeah.
They're going to throw Tapu Tapu in the other parks, and it's like, how quick do you need to work on that? Essentially, is what they're asking here.
What does that look like? Like you wear a wristband and you just tap it every time you...
Either they would give you a wristband for the day, or if they're Disney, they would require you to buy a wristband, and then you can hook up your credit card to it, and then you just tap it against the electronic pad, and then there you go. You pay for whatever.
But you could still use cash if you wanted.
If you wanted to, yeah.
That was an option. Okay. But this question on the survey, or I don't know what it is, they're saying everything has to be touch free. So what do you do? Slide the money like a casino table?
Well, it doesn't say. It says implementing touch-free payment, and it doesn't say that they're going to make it, mandatory or the only way to pay per se.
Oh,
So to say that.
All right. Well, then, that's a yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's a thing in the world and in theme parks already. So yeah, go ahead.
Well, you're saying go ahead, but what you mean, like it would make you more comfortable, or you just don't care? It doesn't affect you? I understand what you're saying, that in the overall scheme of things, yes, this is something that they should continue to work towards. With or without pandemics, they should continue to work towards this anyway. It makes sense.
Well, this is not. I mean, if it's June 1st, it's like then after every transaction, I have to have hand sanitizer or go immediately to the bathroom and wash my hands. I guess it would be more convenient, and if I could just do it hands-free. I don't know.
Yeah, it would make me more comfortable.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I don't want to carry on cash. Anyway.
Yeah, I would say it would make you more comfortable.
Okay.
Yeah, that's an easier one, and now that one does not have like the logistical nightmare behind it. It's kind of something that it's mostly already there.
Yeah, I think this is something that they can implement pretty easily and pretty quickly if they wanted to. And Universal is all about doing things very quickly. So if they wanted this in like a month, they could do it.
Yeah, it's just expensive, really.
Right.
It's expensive if they have to put something at every register in the park.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
they have money. I mean, we know they do.
Mm-hmm.
All right, the next idea. Limiting attendance to 50% of park capacity.
Love it.
Great.
I'm on board. I love it.
This is like a loaded kind of question, though, or loaded issue,
know.
really.
Yeah, it's tricky.
I know.
It's a double-edged sword. So I get it that, if you can get in there, if you can be part of the 50% that gets in, yeah, the wait time should be less. Although I don't know what other procedures they would implement with, ride sanitizing, all that. But I'm sure we'll get to that. But setting that aside, what if you don't get in? Because 50% is a serious cutback.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's half. That's half.
Right. It's like almost half.
They call that half. Yeah.
So
They call that.
Almost half.
I don't know.
It's like half of something. That's crazy.
So
Would you be able to reserve it beforehand so you're definitely getting in or definitely not getting in?
I guess you would have
Yeah.
to. I mean, what do you do? Yeah, if you
You'd
just
have
show
to do
up
it.
and they're just like, sorry,
Limited
guys.
tickets. This is something that really does only apply to like the Florida parks. But I was going to say that I kind of feel like this is another thing that's sort of maybe where things are headed, or where they should be anyway, where we've had way too many extremely crowded days in those Florida parks, where it does seem like they got to stop the greed and just start limiting their capacity, or at least limit it realistically. If they have limits, it's ridiculous. The limit is not anywhere near where it should be.
And that's exactly what I was going to say. Like, what is, quote, capacity? Like, what is 50%
Right.
of it just still as fucking crowded as we're used to? Or
I know at least with Disney, it's like 50% is probably what it should be. First they actually let in these days. It's ridiculous what they allow in Magic Kingdom. It's unbelievable. You can't move.
yes, walking by Small World, it's like you're just
Yeah, so I know this isn't Disney, but it's not that Universal can't get insanely crowded too, because it does. So I don't know. The idea of going to like an advanced ticket purchase, you pick your date, and there's a limited number of tickets for that date. I'd like to see these parks go there anyway. Outside of this. So yeah, logistically, if you're going to do this even just for a time, you'd almost would have to go to some system like that, though, because otherwise you'd be turning people away in droves on that.
Right.
That's going to be awful. That's terrible PR. They don't want to deal with that.
Or you have like one of those one in, one out things, like you're trying to go to Trader Joe's. No.
It's
Yeah.
like the club.
yeah,
Yeah, it's like a club, except better.
because there's groceries and not a lot of
Yeah.
no loud music.
Well,
I mean, okay, we all love the idea that we're going to get on the rides better, and get your food quicker, and everything's going to be easier because the place is less crowded. But I guess in terms of public health, does it make you feel more comfortable? Is it a major inconvenience? I mean, where's it fall on all this?
I guess it would make me feel a little bit better because, well, I mean, again, you're talking about like June 1st. Yeah, it would make me feel a lot better if there's a lot less people just around me. And I'm not jammed up in a
Sure.
queue with 1,000 other people or whatever it is.
sure. Yeah, I think this one's kind of a no-brainer.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
What about tweaking the number? Because they do that. I don't know if it's all from the same survey or not, but they go down to 25%.
Whoa.
They go as high as 75%.
The problem
Well,
is I don't
yeah.
know what these numbers mean, though. I don't know what that feels like, what that translates to. You gotta,
Yeah, because
it's
what
like,
is capacity? How close is it when we normally go?
right. It's like I would want to know, what it is when we normally go. Like, give me some wait times that some of these rides would be, so I have an idea. That's how I know. I don't know what's like number of people allowed in there, the occupancy number. I don't know what that is. And I have no idea what it is when I go. So I have nothing to compare to.
Yeah.
So 25 is the most extreme of only 25% of what they normally would allow in the park. I don't think they'll ever go that low because I mean, I don't know what the tipping point is for them to even be worth opening.
Right. Well,
Where does your payroll cost and everything else, your general operating costs become too much?
Maybe even if you're not making money, you're not turning a profit, but it just looks good. It's good publicity. Oh, you're open and things are okay. But we'll do it for a month. We'll lose money for a month or something. I don't know.
Yeah, like maybe 25% and see how it goes for a little while, and then ramp it up to 50, and then once everybody's all comfortable and happy together, so on and so forth.
And that sounds like what they very well may do.
I mean, so I guess to finish the 50, the middle number there, does that make you feel more comfortable, or
50 would make me feel more comfortable than 100, but 25 would definitely make me feel the most comfortable.
I mean, it all looks good on paper. I mean, just the idea of it on paper, limiting capacity, would make me feel more comfortable if I had to go June 1st. But this one does raise more questions of, what is that capacity? They're obviously never going to let us know.
Right.
It would be an internal number that they have. So I don't know. This, I would answer it that way, but at the same time, the cynic in me feels like this is just bullshit. They're just this is one of those where they're just making you feel better. But are they really limiting anything? How are you really gonna know? Who's gonna police this? No one knows. So this might be the least substantive of all the possible changes so far, because they could just say they're doing this and not do anything different.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into some other interesting ones. Because this gets a little weird. This gets crazy.
Now you want to get nuts? Come on, let's get nuts.
They do talk about requiring all guests to undergo a rapid COVID test, which they define as under 15 minutes for results.
Oh, jeez. And then
Okay, that goes on. Only those with negative results could enter.
So they're going to test you at the gate, you're saying?
I guess that's what I would have to assume. We're going to literally test every individual who wants to enter our park on that day, and you must test negative to be allowed entry.
So they'll give you a reimbursement if you buy your ticket ahead of time.
Or they're going to suspend advance purchase tickets for a while for this, perhaps?
I'm just wondering, are they going to do it in your car? Where do they do the testing? And then where do you wait for 15 minutes?
Right,
That's true. So are you going to pile everybody together? How's that work?
Then you're going to be all piled together.
Well, yeah, what if 2 members of the family test positive and 2 members test negative?
Right. This is I can't see this happening. There's too many problems with this.
Yeah.
No, I agree. This is fantasy land over here. This is not going to happen.
That's just going to freak everybody out if they start doing that. That's worse than the face masks, because that's at least precautionary. When you start having to literally test people, do medical tests on people before they go into the park, why are you going to the park?
Well, it's like Universal's just not in the medical business. They're not in the testing business. So why should this be something that they have to implement and do?
Well, I would assume that they would bring in people who are qualified to do it. And then that would eliminate the face mask question, because if nobody has it, then you don't have to wear face masks or limit capacity.
It is like a thing, yes. Like this sort of replaces everything else. Once you're in, it's like a regular day. It's like this isn't even going on. You can live the fantasy for that 12 hours.
Everyone else is dying.
The pandemic's not really happening because it's just you, and you're clear, and all other people around you that are all clear. It's an interesting concept.
I don't know.
No, it doesn't work because you could get a false positive or false negative. Like it's not a guarantee. And then again, it's a lawsuit waiting to happen. When you said, well, the park said they tested everybody and they must have let someone through who actually had it, then I got sick and my kid died because of it or something. It's like, it's impossible. You can't have this.
I think this is one of those kind of taking the temperature of the person taking the survey. How extreme is this person? Because that's really kind of all this question, how you can answer this question. You can't be kind of like, maybe. It's either like, yes, absolutely test everyone, or no, that is ridiculous.
Yeah, right.
So they're trying to see what bucket to put you in.
And I'm not saying I'm not like a conspiracy theorist that says, all these tests are bullshit and they can't detect anything. But I'm saying it's not a guarantee that you're going to keep this thing out of your park.
Well, this sort of reminds me of our security episode, which is something that happened after 9/11 and still goes on today. But it did happen, and it's only ramped up in the last 2 decades, where they do full-on airport-style security at Universal before you enter. But we've talked about that, how it's like it's such a dog and pony show. Like, you're not really preventing everything, but they do it, and it's become the normal.
No, this is more invasive. I mean, they're going like into your body. They're testing your body. It's not just just wand you or whatever. They're literally doing medical tests on you before you go in. This is
I know. That's what I was
invasive. People are not going to do this.
Yeah, the medical aspect on this sort of gives it a different edge. I think it goes a little beyond maybe what would ever be able to happen. In actuality, this feels more like something that it would be in a movie, but it never really happened. It just, I don't know. It just goes a little too far, maybe. Obviously, also entering the park would take forever. I mean, it's a 15-minute result test for each person, so this would take hours,
right,
to get any decent number of people into this park.
Yeah, how much is Universal going to spend on this? Testing every single person every day. What if they leave the park and they come back for re-entry? It's just an insane amount of work.
And Universal isn't just one park. I mean, it's a whole resort. What about, the opening of hotels in this equation? The people coming from other parts of the country? Are they staying for a week? There's too many questions with this. It's kind of nuts. And the next part of that, or the next one, is the same exact thing, requiring the rapid test for employees. And again, only negative testing employees would be allowed to work. But I think those go hand in hand, like the mask. I mean, you can't do one and not the other.
Yeah.
Everyone who enters those gates, whether it be the front gate or the back gate for employees, has to be on the same playing field. I mean, if you're either all wearing masks or no one is, or you're either all tested or no one is, you can't do half. Doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I mean, I guess the only answer you could say is that it's if that one is a major problem.
That's a major problem.
Yeah, it's like if they're doing that, then I'm not going.
Yeah, it goes beyond, like, I don't know, that doesn't make me feel comfortable. It's just like, it makes me feel that it's a major problem, and I'm not going. If the world is that bad off at that point, I'll go a couple more months without theme parks.
Right. And if it could result in you going all the way there and then not being able to get in, or half of your family not being able to get in, that's too much.
I'm going to travel there, and
right.
Is the theme park test going to be as reliable as the one at my local hospital? And then I'm going to be going around thinking I have it and I don't, and then I go to my actual doctor and I find out a week later that I didn't have it, and then there's just too many things going on there.
All right, well, I'm going to be the odd one out and the pain in the ass.
Oh, we want this.
But I'm going to say that even though it would be inconvenient, it would totally make me feel a lot better.
But under the circumstance that you were forced to go on June 1st?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because, I'm sure it's talking about it's going to take hours to let everybody in, but I'm sure they're not testing one person, waiting 15 minutes, and then testing the next person. I'm sure it would be like, I'm going to swab all 4 of the people in your group, and then in 15 minutes, we'll either let you in or send you home. And then, I don't think it would take that much longer than, your security.
It's like, this is what you said, just to send you home. It's so crazy. You came to a day at the park, and there's a possibility you're going to be sent home. It's just, why go? What are you doing at that point?
Don't go if you know you're sick.
No, but what if you don't know if you have it? Because some people don't have the symptoms. It's different than just a security check where they're looking 5 seconds in your bag and you say, oh, you have a piece of metal in here or whatever it is. You can't take that into the park. And you say, okay, fine. And then you throw it out or you take it back to the car or whatever it is that they don't allow in. It's different than, well, no, you have this virus. We can't let you in at all. You have to go home.
Well, if we're all forced to go on June 1st, I'm going to say that I'm okay with that inconvenience, that they're going to send me home if I'm sick.
It's so ridiculous, though. I mean, because what if... So then they test a group of people, and then where do they put them, though? You're saying, they're not going to wait 15 minutes and then test another group, but where are you going to put all of these people that you just tested?
It's not realistic. It's not realistic.
No, it's not realistic. But
it's not. The parks are not going to the post office, going to the food store. This is a totally elective, totally leisure activity. You don't have to go to the park. So why should you go through all of this?
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? Fine, test people if they have to get on an airplane. If it's something that's essential, this is the least essential thing that people would have to go to.
Yeah, this just keeps ringing. You know, I keep getting more flashbacks from the security discussion we had, even though it was a long time ago. Because that's like the idea of like the park is safe, but what about the parking lot?
Yeah.
Just to the idea of you're inviting all these people, many of which could be carrying this virus, you know, to all mingle in some space, and maybe a area before the actual park gate, the main gate, but there's some other space that so I think that's okay. It's okay if we're inviting people to come in and get infected in our parking lot or in this area.
Or I guess you'd have to stay in your car, I guess.
Is that what they're going to do? I don't know.
It's possible. They have drive-through testing, I think, here on Long Island.
But again, it's so messy because then someone has to go seek out your car to let you know you're okay or not okay. And then what if the results get mixed up?
Yeah. What if it get mixed up? Exactly.
It's like, oh shit, I told the wrong car. It was this license plate that ended in 2, not 4.
It's like, sir, I'm very sorry. You have COVID-19.
And then it's like, yeah, that's how you get the news.
That's how you find out.
Universal team member tells you.
Sorry, sir.
Don't hospitals need tests? Not Universal? Like, we don't have enough tests.
And then,
Why are they all going
There
Universal?
you go.
Yeah.
That's the real
idea of
answer.
our company hogging up tests is also kind of
We're
weird.
going to need thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of these tests. Where are they going to go first?
Right, we're assuming there's just like unlimited tests in the world. Yes, okay.
Okay, next question.
Okay, now what if the idea of a magic wand? If there was a magic wand, and we could tell. Well, it's not a magic wand, but
Let me guess.
What?
Are they going to take your temperature?
yes, there is the idea of doing a temperature check, just like it's like a scan on your temple. So it's not invasive, and they've been doing this a lot.
Yeah, they do it everywhere.
Since
right?
the beginning of this thing, when it was still isolated to mostly China, I think even they were doing it at the airports. They were doing this. This is not foolproof in its own way, of course. You could have a temperature for other reasons. It may not be this.
Or you could have this and not have a temperature because you're one of those people not showing symptoms.
Right.
Yeah, I
It's
think
also
this
possible.
everything
So
we just
it-
said I think applies to this.
So does this make any difference to
It's
you?
the same
No,
thing.
I have the same answers.
It's the same thing. You can have your party separated. It's the same exact thing.
No, it would literally have to be a magic wand that could guarantee you have the disease or not. And even then, it's like, what if you have it and you're there? And it's like, sorry, go home.
This is getting too sci-fi, where you get scanned before you go anywhere. Like it's getting too Gattaca. This is too much.
It's like millions of people have a multitude of medical problems, and it's like you can't just, I don't know, it's just ridiculous. It's crazy.
Do you open yourself up to discrimination lawsuits and stuff like that
Right.
too at some
There you
point?
go.
It's the Sneetches. It's going to play itself out in real life.
Jeez.
Starbellied Sneetch. It's like, you have COVID or you don't. A bunch of people have it, but they're not showing symptoms, and it's fine for them. They can live with it. And then, I don't know. This does get kind of crazy in sci-fi. And then the same thing for employees, doing a temperature check on them. That's more of the same. All right, the next issue. Let's switch gears now. All right, let's get out of that. That was some of the craziest stuff that I think that I saw. So that was. What about eliminating self-serve food options? So like the self-serve all-day drink cups, the big plastic ones. Most parks, I guess Universal included, has stations where you can refill those on your own. What about making everything have to be an employee touches it?
Like you're touching the machine or whatever, but if the employee is touching my cup and then, somebody else's cup, and I'm sure they're not washing their hands between each cup touch.
Is that the same thing?
It makes no difference.
Yeah, it's either you're touching the button on the machine,
Oh, I see.
or someone else is touching every cup. So it's like either way, it's equally probably bad.
Yeah, if they want to do that, I mean, fine. Yeah, but it's not really going to make a difference.
I mean, the beverage option is the one they give, but I would think this might apply more to like the cafeteria style eateries, where the food's out there and then you're just picking it up as you go down the line. Because I know they have some. I think the Circus McCircus is like that for one. I can think of.
Yeah, well, Thunder Falls Terrace.
And your false terraces like that, they have a couple of those at least in that park, and just IOA.
Yeah, well, that's really what I was thinking of when you brought this question up.
So what about that?
Yeah, that's fine if the team member wants to dish out the food and then hand it to you. Instead of the food just being out there for the next guest to grab, I guess that's fine. Does that make me feel better, or does that make me more likely to go? What were the answer options?
Yeah, it either makes you more comfortable, or it doesn't affect you at all, or it's a minor problem, or minor inconvenience, or a major problem,
or a requirement of yours,
or it's an actual requirement. Like you won't go unless they do that.
No, I'm not going to say a requirement. I don't know. I'm either neutral or...
Yeah, I'm kind of landing on it doesn't affect me on that one.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it would be better because nothing to do with COVID, but you're going to get nice hot food instead of it sitting under the heat lamp. It might be a little fresher.
Okay, maybe.
What about requiring team members to wipe down vehicles or seats between rides?
More comfortable, but also then they definitely have to limit capacity because that's going to take for fucking ever.
Aren't they doing that, or weren't they doing that before at some parks or some rides?
Yes, I brought that up on the last episode about this. SeaWorld was doing that.
Oh, I saw that.
SeaWorld in Orlando.
If they can just spray it down in between, if that's faster, I don't know what the new medical evidence will say.
Bring out the guys in the hazmat suits with the big sprayers. It's going to look like the exterminator guys from Kennywood. Cartoony.
Oh, wow.
Or, actually, also, you can go Disney on that. It's Monsters, Inc. has those guys in the suits.
Oh, yes. Monsters stink, yeah.
Yeah, monsters stink.
This is something that I've always been thinking about anyway, that they should be doing, I don't know. So it would make me feel more comfortable. It would have made me feel more comfortable a year ago, and they're nasty. Come on, those seats they're gross.
This is going to be Buffy's dream right here. You're going to want this post-coronavirus world, aren't you?
Yeah, Universal's going to be the safest place.
You're going to be healthier when you come out than you were going in.
It's true.
You're going to get your proctology exam while you're on the line or something?
The rectal thermometer.
Yeah. Rectal thermometers at every ride entrance.
Yeah.
And exit.
It'll make you think twice about rewriting anything.
Oh!
All right. If we're talking about June 1st, yeah, I guess it would make me feel better. But again, I kind of want to wait until they're not doing that anymore.
It's a pain in the ass. Yeah, it's the wait time. Yeah, for each ride, in between each ride. That's crazy. What is that? Doubling the wait essentially?
Yeah.
It's like unless you could take the ride car off the track and completely submerge it in sanitizer, then you're not going to hit every surface and get every crevice and all that stuff. It's going to be a real rush job. And
all right, well, I don't know if this would be on the list, but how would you guys feel if they just put hand sanitizer at every exit? So when you get off the ride, you can sanitize yourself.
Oh, that'd be great. They should have that anyway. Yeah.
Let's do that now.
There you go, talking common sense, though.
Oh, sorry.
How dare you?
Oh, my bad.
It's like
I forgot where I was.
That's an actual, common sense change to make going forward. Not a lot of this stuff is ridiculous that they're proposing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I came up with an easy solution.
Yeah, it's like, no, we're gonna have to wipe the whole thing down. We're gonna disinfect all the midways before every on the hour, every hour. It's just like some of this stuff is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Or another thing. If you've ever been on a cruise in the last few years, you would know as you're entering the buffet, they usually squirt your hands with hand sanitizer, whether you want it or not. What about especially on the rides like Hulk, where you're already going through a metal detector, they squirt you when you come in. Squirt your hands. Little mandatory hand sanitizer before you get on the ride.
Little spread them.
I know.
Squirt in between those cheeks.
What?
No? That's where they're going with this.
No.
All right.
Would that make me feel better? Again, going June 1st? Yeah, I guess it would. Even later down the line, I don't really have an issue with that if they're going to spray some sanitizer in my hand before and or after. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, people are going to say, I can't, I have whatever, skin disease, I have eczema, I have psoriasis, I don't believe in this, I don't want anything on me. You're going to definitely have those people. So maybe just putting them on the exits very clearly in your face when you exit will encourage it.
Well, the actual thing was about wiping the ride vehicles down. So, I mean, I guess it would make me feel more comfortable in the short term, but it carries its own problems. So how about implementing social distancing practices throughout the park? So now here is we're talking about 6 feet apart in queues, and they also mention spacing tables at restaurants.
Those queues are going to get dicey.
Yeah.
It's going to be a Royal Rumble. Well, you're going to have the line all the way out to the entrance if you have people 6 feet apart.
Yeah, it's like 6 feet apart. Normally we're what, 6 inches apart?
Yeah.
On a crowded day?
People are like right up in your asshole.
So it's like, yeah, you're filling the queue with a fraction of the capacity, and that's just crazy in its own right.
And the queue thing is impossible. You can't do that. It's impossible to enforce. I mean, we already covered that the last episode.
Yeah, because how do you enforce it is the big deal.
Right,
yeah.
and you can't.
You have a family with a whole bunch of kids. They have to each stand 6 feet apart. Oh my God, no.
Yeah, you can't do that. But spacing people out on a ride vehicle, you can do. Maybe they'll do that in the beginning. Would that make me feel any better? Again, we're talking June 1st. I guess it would. If I'm not sitting next to a stranger, especially. I mean, with the restaurant, that's easy. If you want to take some tables away and spread them farther apart. Or in a place where you have some sort of theater or something where you have individual seats, you can block certain seats off. That's easy if you want to do that. Would that make me feel better? Yeah, maybe it would make me feel a little bit better.
So if we're going on June 1st and they are letting people on the rides, I'm going to say we're going for the first row, because if you're in that third row, even if there's nobody in the second row, you're going to get those germs on your face from the people in the front row if they happen to cough or sneeze or talk while the ride is going.
Right.
You're rushing right through their air.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. It's like it's got to be first row or nothing.
The back row.
Are we talking single file people?
Yeah, you have to. Otherwise...
Oh, Christ. Like, at that point, is that fun? You're just standing in silence? Single file?
Well, again,
it becomes like a military drill after a while. It's not very fun. This whole day, you're getting the test on the way in, and then you're, at the end we can go through that. We can, what does this whole day look like now? It's a mess.
Right. Well, the queue thing is just you just can't.
Well, virtual. Okay, that's all right. We'll go there. We'll skip there now.
Yeah, there you go. Virtual.
Implement a virtual line waiting system for all or most attractions.
Do it.
What does that look like?
Well, they do have that for a couple of their attractions. They have that for Jimmy Fallon. They have it for Fast and the Furious, but it's not mandatory. It's an option, which we've never done for Fast and the Furious. It works fine for Jimmy Fallon. The problem with that, though, is you have a waiting room where it's like a whole herd of people together when it's your turn to get into the motion theater.
Yeah, it's like waiting for a crowded restaurant.
Right.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Okay.
Like that experience.
So that, I don't know if that really solves anything, honestly.
Because you can't have spaces of any limited size, like a Jimmy Fallon waiting area,
Right.
where people congregate in. That doesn't make any sense. And then you can't just have everybody in the midway, or you can if you limit capacity to something really low, and then this really is just an experience for a few dozen people on that day. There's no lines and there's no nothing, and it's just okay. You're in the park by yourself most of the day, and with the you interact with a couple employees who have already been tested before they came to work that day.
The family in the car at the end of the day.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, it's just, I don't know.
In the car.
It gets ridiculous quick.
Yeah, I mean, the virtual queue system might be something that might be a fine system to implement on future attractions, but as a temporary fix for coronavirus, it's impractical.
Yeah, it's like you can't have 100% virtual queue.
No. That's what-
system for the entire park. It hasn't been done yet, and I think it just doesn't work. You can't.
Right.
I mean, I guess the closest thing, at least in this country, is Volcano Bay with that sort of thing, with all virtual queuing. Even then, there are some lines to where some, you have some people there.
Yeah. Before you actually get on, there's still a line. It's
not 100%.
short.
Yeah.
But the whole of the park, the nature of the park is people together. It's completely going against every molecule of what a theme park is.
Right. That's exactly the bottom line to all this. It's like theme parks are not conducive to any of these measures,
No.
to social distancing or this whole situation that we're in.
No, it goes against every grain of what a theme park is.
Right.
Yeah. That pretty much sums it up right there. Yeah.
Okay, so it would be a major problem for me.
Going back to social distancing practices, like at this point, it's like, though I do kind of want to answer these in like the major problem category. 100% virtual queues everywhere, or 6-foot markers everywhere, and only going to use every other table at every restaurant. It just becomes like, I don't know.
But it's a major problem for you, or it would be a major problem for them? Would it bother you if it was in place, or if they were trying to put it in place?
Put it that way. Would it bother me?
Yeah, because that's what we're talking about. It's talking about if you have to go on June 1st and they're trying to implement any of these given things, is it going to be an inconvenience for you? Are you neutral?
All right, maybe I'll go minor inconvenience. I'll scale it back one on that, because I did say major for like the mandatory tests, because that is major. But for this, I'll say minor inconvenience. But I'm still going to go in that realm, because I'm not going to enjoy the day, essentially, with these kind of things going on.
It wouldn't even make me feel more comfortable, because I would be stressed out that people aren't staying 6 feet away from me.
Yeah, there's that too. Yeah, it's an impossibility, because what about just walking in the midway and say I want to stop and just look at something, but there's all these other people, and then what? Then the Universal Police is going to come by and say, no, 6 feet apart, 6 feet apart. You can't do anything then in a theme park.
One-way lanes for everything. No stopping, keep moving.
Yeah,
it's like everybody needs to move in unison. It's like, you can't do that.
Everything turns into like a one-way street. You have to go around the park and, either go around the loop in one direction or the other. And then, it's just, you're right. And then it becomes like marching. It's like,
you're in a chain gang.
Where we do have something to look at, because some of the stuff has already happened and they're on the other side of it, is China. And Kat pulled up a picture for me while we were talking, and I don't know what park that is, but it's a roller coaster train. It's a typical 2x2 train, and they're only using one out of each row, and it's like the opposite side. It's like if the front row, they're using the right side, so they're using the left seat in the second row, and then back to the right for the third, and so on. It's real. It's a reality. You're going to go through somewhere there. So 100% of the people have face masks. The employee has a face mask, and all the people on the train have face masks.
Are they doing the testing before you get in the park? Are they doing all of those things that we went through?
That I don't know.
I feel like they might have been doing the temperature.
I think at Disney they are, like the foreign Disney resorts they are. The ones that have reopened, I guess, like in Hong Kong, Shanghai maybe.
But that doesn't mean that like you don't have it and then you can give it to somebody else.
There's the science in this is all flawed all across the board. Again, mixing a pandemic with a theme park, not a good idea. But my point in this case was going to be that it's almost like like a Chinese culture might be more conducive to at least some of these measures. They are more conducive. It's just their culture. That it's more how they grow up. It is a communist country, and it's just there's something about that I think might be more conducive there. This stuff would definitely not fly here. Everyone is way too individual.
They want
no one gives a fuck about their fellow man when a push comes to shove. And it seems like a stressful day in the theme park brings out the worst in a lot of people, from what I've seen over my lifetime. So you can look at some of the things they're doing already in China, but unfortunately, all this stuff would not work here. Actually obeying the rules and taking it seriously. That doesn't work in this culture of this country, I don't think.
Right.
This one, not nearly as big of a deal. Mobile ordering for food.
They started doing that anyway. I mean, how is that any different?
Disney did. I don't think Universal has yet.
Six Flags was doing that, or they were gonna do it, right?
They teased it and they never actually rolled it out.
Ah.
Yeah. So I think as of right now, Disney's still the only park that does that. And even there, it's limited. It's only a handful of restaurants, not all.
Again, what's the difference? I mean, somebody's still preparing and handing you the food. So what does it matter if you ordered it on your phone or if you told it to somebody?
I guess you're avoiding the food line.
Oh,
It's the only thing.
Yeah.
but
You're
again,
taking that out of the equation.
you're in a theme park. You're surrounded by people. I don't see how that really makes a difference.
All right, see, it's starting to wear on you. Now you're realizing this is all silly. It is. Most of this is silly. Now we're going to get into limiting some of the offerings. Okay, how about suspending parades and nighttime shows?
Yeah, fine. I don't care.
No, you have to keep them going so we can get the rides while there's less people on them.
It's like that's the only thing they're good for.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the most part. But then there's more people available for the queues, and then you're exacerbating the queue issue all over again. You know, I don't know. I mean, obviously they're just trying to eliminate the gatherings, but
Yeah, I don't think that would be a major reason to go to the park is to see the parade.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be a major like breaking point for people. I don't
well,
think. They're not spending the whole
definitely
day
not
there.
for Universal anyway.
Right.
If there's any company that has more invested in these things, it's Disney.
Yeah.
Right.
For sure.
You know, people are not going to Universal for parades and nighttime shows.
Mhm.
Do they have any
I
parades
think
or nighttime shows?
They do. There's always I've always seen like something come out in at least in studios.
I don't think it would be a major loss. I think people would understand.
Yeah, it's like it would save the parks money.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
it's funny because they may be floating that out there just to see if they can maybe just give up on those things.
Yeah, or at least just,
Universal.
yeah, or at least scale them way back.
Yeah, because they're really not into that to begin with. It's not their bread and butter. So maybe they wanted to see if they can eventually phase these out.
Mm-hmm.
Use this as the excuse.
More comfortable for me.
Oh, sorry. I wish we should go through that. So more comfortable without parades and nighttime shows. I mean, I guess I'm indifferent.
I would go with completely neutral.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Completely neutral.
Same, indifferent.
Okay, so then it doesn't affect any of us.
Yeah.
Really. And then what about closing indoor attractions and shows?
Well, you kind of can't do that in Florida because that's 90% of their shit. So
Okay, but this survey is being put out by Universal Florida, Universal Orlando.
well, then what are you going to do? You're going to ride like the 3 coasters and there's your day.
Yeah, Hulk, Hagrid, and Rocket can stay open. I guess, and Woody Woodpecker.
But what if the queue is indoors?
And
The ride is out, like
correct,
Hulk.
correct.
And the
There's
ride is-
most of those I just said have at least an indoor portion of their queue. I think except for maybe Nuthouse Coaster. So like Woody Woodpecker, and Flying Unicorn, whatever the hell it's called now. Like those two could stay open, I guess.
Flight of the Hippogriff?
How could I forget?
It doesn't make sense. That's why you go to the park. That's why you go to these parks, especially.
Yeah, this has got to be an all or nothing kind of thing.
That's a question that Six Flags could honestly ask. Do you want us just to close, that couple of Justice Leagues and that's about it? Like at this point, really, I don't know. Is there any Sims left in those parks? I don't think there are. I think they closed them all.
Yeah.
So it's like, does that make you feel uncomfortable? And maybe, but you're okay to ride the coasters with us. You would come to the park still, but that's a regional thing at this point. I mean, for Universal, how can they ask that?
Right.
I mean, that's just like saying everything's going to be closed. Like, how about we just open the midways, but the actual rides are closed?
Yeah, there's indoor things anyway. You got restaurants, you got bathrooms.
I was just going to say that. Exactly.
So, what's the difference?
And what about when the 3 o'clock
By yourself.
storm rolls around?
Right, exactly. Yeah.
And then what do you do?
Where are people going to shelter in the rain? Yeah.
Yeah, they're not going to close the shops. Like,
But that's
How do
indoors.
yeah. So it's just another totally infeasible.
Okay, we stumbled on a couple of very good things. Bathrooms are not mentioned in here. Bathrooms are normally not sanitary, really, right? By like the middle of the high point of the day, when it's like hundreds of people are going through those things, those employees cannot keep up with the cleanliness. They smell like piss. You open a stall, it's disgusting. Someone, it's like a haunted maze scene sometimes in those things, like for real.
Yeah.
When you go in there, there's water all over the sink. People splashed all their water everywhere. I mean, what about that? Like, what about nasty public restrooms that I mean, unless you're going to limit the capacity to like 10%, and you can really keep control of these things, that's ridiculous. And they don't even mention it, but that's going to be an area where if it's going to be any spot that people are going to pick up a virus, it's going to be there. I think in a lot of cases.
Right. Bathrooms and restaurants are way more of a concern than the rides.
Yeah. Also, you're exposing yourself in there.
Yeah.
Restaurants, I mean, your hands are all over your face probably.
Yeah, that's like nasty.
Major problem.
And then gift shops, you just mentioned, Kat, and like, yeah, what about gift shops? I mean, the merchandise is just sitting there on shelves, and everyone's just touching it. Even in like overnight, like I don't think they're spraying down all the merchandise every day, in between days.
No, definitely not.
That is not a normal procedure anywhere. I don't believe. So, what about that? What about all the stuffed animals and the T-shirts and everything? Everyone's just touching all this shit. That, by its very nature, is not sanitary.
I always touch the fluffy unicorn by the Minions. Always. At least one, if not 10.
So, if we're really real about it, I think if any of us have ever picked up a virus in a theme park, it was most likely in a spot that's not even really being addressed. I don't know that it was ever waiting in a queue or on the ride itself. It was probably in a gift shop or eating in the restaurant or in the bathroom.
Yeah.
Those are the most likely areas you're going to be picking up a virus in a theme park anyway.
Right, because those are, you can't say no bathrooms. You can't even approach that. But it's kind of implied if you start really unraveling it. Impractical and major problem, I think.
One of my final takeaways here is that this is all just really bullshit, I guess. I mean, it's sort of fitting for what these are. It's the Florida theme parks. This is just a bunch of additional window dressing on top of what these parks already are. Like the nature of these parks, that it's all fantasy and theme. This just sort of is more of that. It's just, they want to just see what they have to say they're doing so that people feel comfortable enough to go.
Mm-hmm.
Or it's like the security measures that are currently in place. It's like, in the end, I don't know how much any of this is really helping anything. I don't know how much any of this is really going to help anyone not pick up a virus or make it less likely. Maybe it's slightly less likely to pick it up if they're doing some of these things, but by and large, I don't think it's doing a lot.
If you really don't want to get a virus, don't go to a theme park. If you're that concerned about it, don't go. You wouldn't go.
Right.
You wouldn't go. I think what they're trying to do with these surveys is just gauge when they should open. That's all they're looking at. Should we do it sooner or do we do it later? Can we wait a year or a year and a half until we don't have lawsuits? They're trying to cover their ass and see when they should open.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. They're just gauging public apprehension.
They're just saying the same thing in different ways. They're asking the same question in different ways.
Yeah, I think there's a little validity to that. I think that this may be something where they'll release these surveys once every couple weeks and see how it changes. Yeah. And then see where the tipping point is where enough people are not concerned about any of these things, where everyone's just, it won't affect me, I don't care, I'm very likely to go. And then at that point, okay, now we'll announce our opening in the next 14 days.
But when they do open, they should put sanitizer at every exit of everything.
Yeah, sure.
Yes, they should have been doing that.
Yeah.
No, they should have. I've been thinking that for years, but now there's finally a reason.
Right. I don't see any of those extreme things happening. But again, this is us talking April 28th, 2020. Who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, there's that element of this so far since this thing started. I mean, a lot of unprecedented things have happened. And
right, exactly. Things I thought, like, no way that's what's happening. So I can only talk for today. That's it.
Right, and what we've seen so far. It's like, now this is hard to imagine, but it's, who knows? I'd like to think what you're saying is more true, that Universal doesn't really plan on doing almost any of this, and it's more of a barometer for public opinion right now. At the same time, we can't rule out the fact that there aren't people in there that are thinking that they might do some of this stuff for real.
Yeah, because you see it when you go to the stores. You see everyone in their masks. So is it that much of a leap to think that people should be doing it in the parks?
Right, when you go to the grocery store, you need food. You don't need to ride fucking Hagrid.
Well,
are you sure? I totally need to ride Hagrid.
I don't know. Those are fighting words for some folks.
Yeah.
All of this stuff, if they implement any of it, it won't last because eventually there will be a vaccine. Now, that may not happen for 12 to 18 months from now, but eventually there will be one, and then all of this will be moot. There won't be a need for any of this stuff then anymore.
Okay, you don't think anything will last? You don't think anything will be a cultural shift just since this happened to everyone living today?
Not this more extreme stuff like
Well, I don't think full medical tests will
like
happen.
medical screening and temperature screenings and all that, and wearing face masks 6 feet apart, all that stuff. You know, maybe eliminating you taking your own food from, you know, like a cafeteria style setup, or getting your own drink. You know, maybe that you won't be able to do that anymore in the future. I think it's like smaller stuff like that. But something on the scale of the security check where you have to go pass through a metal detector, I don't think it's going to be something on that level that's going to remain. That's my prediction.
Yeah, and then, you know, since most of this stuff we've kind of exposed as being impractical anyway, I mean, I don't see how much of it really could last, even if it was in play for a short time, like the masks and like 6 feet apart in the queue. And there's just no chance that stuff could ever become a real permanent thing because it's not practical in the first place.
Right.
I mean, under that circumstance, I don't really know that I see anything that really could become a permanent fixture.
I'm not saying they won't try and pull some of this stuff. They may. But I don't think any of it is going to last for that long.
It's like maybe not universal because at the end of the day, they are a very smart, savvy, I think they're the most smart and savvy park company out there today.
Oh, yeah.
We talked about that on the show. They have their finger on the pulse. They're really doing some great stuff. So I don't think they will be the ones to make stupid decisions in the end, regardless of a survey that goes out. I could see, though, like the Six Flags company, who has done a lot of bonehead stuff in the past, I could see them tripping over their own feet and just doing some of the ridiculous things on this list, or maybe other things that aren't on this list. I could definitely see that. I could see them trying the 6-foot tape markers in the queues and telling everybody they have to wear masks, and then just doing some really weird off the wall shit. Just the fact that it got out there now, it's like I do wonder if any regional park company will pick up on it and then turn this into something else where this does become some dystopian park future for some small park somewhere.
I hope not, but I don't think so, because all parks tend to take their cues from definitely Disney, and then even Universal too, because Universal and Disney kind of, you know, go hand in hand with a lot of stuff. All the other parks take their cues from them, so I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll wait to see what they actually do.
Yeah.
Right.
Before they. Okay, I would.
Right.
All right, I would just hope at least that they do that.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, there's one other item actually that I didn't get because I was saving it for the end and I kind of forgot. So I'll apologize for that. But it's a doozy because it kind of brings everything around and it's good. They do say, or they ask, what about suspending X-ray conveyor belts at security? Okay, they only say X-ray conveyor belts, and we know most parks don't have that. Universal does, and actually Great Adventure does, oddly enough.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any other parks that I can think of that have the full X-rays conveyor belt system, like an airport.
Yeah, I know Disney is, at least Disneyland is... Oh no, Disney World also. They're kind of redoing their whole security setup, so maybe they're putting them in?
Okay, but this Universal survey mentioned suspending it, and I don't know of any connection with X-rays and this virus, right? Does anyone else?
Well,
I don't
they're
think that's
talking
a
about
thing.
the 5G thing, that it somehow affects.
Well, I believe what they're getting
I
at
don't know.
is the idea that you have to put your stuff down on a belt, and then someone has to touch it,
it's more of that.
and
Okay.
it's the whole thing, right?
Oh.
I believe that's what they're getting at. They're getting at,
Okay.
a belt that's not sanitized, and everyone's putting stuff down on it, and basically it's just more touch points, more contact.
Okay.
So really, I mean, all right, suspend the X-ray conveyor part of it, but what about all of security? It almost brings up the question of, and they're not saying that fully, but like, well, what if we just suspend security? Will that make you feel more safe, or more comfortable? Will that make you feel? So it's a weird thing where it's like the last major tragedy this country saw certain measures put in place that have become mainstays at parks, and now the latest problem we're having on a national scale, really global, but it's national in this conversation. Like, what if we reverse those last things from that last catastrophe that's now 20 years ago? Will that make you feel better about the virus?
Well, now this is just making my brain hurt. I mean,
Yeah.
I am baffled by the fact that that's even a question.
Yeah, that's why it is a doozy for the finale, I thought. Because it's like, now we're going to take out other things that were supposed to make you feel safe to make you feel safe today. Are they already thinking about maybe we've gone too far with security? It's costing us way too much money. Can we possibly scale it back? What do you think people will say to that?
yeah, they just asked specifically about X-ray machines.
Yeah.
I think that's
They did.
telling.
I guess they don't want to go full on.
So it's
to
like,
say we're going to eliminate security.
it's going too far, and maybe if everyone's okay with this, we'll get rid of them.
We'll just have some metal detectors. We can wand you down, but no X-ray machines.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
Because, like I was saying, if they were just concerned about contact and whatever, you'd have to get rid of all the security,
Yeah, right.
100% of it.
I'm gonna say that if they took that away, it would slow it down. Because then, are they gonna have to spend more time poking through people's bags?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. That's a very good question.
But I kind of feel like they're almost throwing a feeler out there. Like, what if we just got rid of all security?
Yeah.
Well, because look at this. I mean, because how many years now do they have to look at? How many years have they had this in place? And they can say how many weapons or illegal pieces of contraband or whatever it is that we don't allow in the park. How many have we actually caught with this system? And then maybe it's the number is so low they're like, can't really justify the cost of this shit anymore. We've caught more people in using other methods that have been way more effective than this giant security setup where we have a lot of people employed and a lot of equipment that needs a lot of maintenance. Because they have like 20 years of data to look at, right?
Well, not that many. They didn't have the current setup at the rotunda since right after 9/11.
Okay, all right, that's too much. They have at least 10?
But yeah, maybe about 10.
Okay.
So yeah, interesting. Again, if they're just worried about the virus and the contact, I mean that's one thing. But I don't know.
Fascinating stuff.
Yeah,
Okay.
these questions are kind of they're asking you something else underneath. It's between the lines type of things, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, that was it. Those are the questions. Was there any other final thoughts? I know we kind of did our wrap up before that last question,
Yeah. I think,
but
right.
you know why not?
I think
That's
we
the
said
next writing way.
I think we said it.
Okay, so I think that we shouldn't go to any parks until this is like really close to being done, or actually all the way done.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't see myself going to a park until next year, which I'm okay with. I'm not really upset about it. You know, I had my 1 minute to be upset, and I'm over it.
But again, this thing could take turns that we don't even know about. So I can't even speculate. I don't open them until there's some kind of solid path.
Yeah, I'm also not in any rush to go to a park. You know, I get we're all kind of in agreement about that here amongst this small group. You know, as far I guess my advice to anyone else would just be simply look, at least be realistic about it with yourself. If these parks, the Florida, when I say these parks, I guess I mean the Florida ones I'm thinking of because I do feel those will open first. But if any park near you opens and you have a chance to go, you can't rely on whatever they're saying they're doing, any measures they're putting into place or they say they're putting into place. You just have to look at it like you can look at going out at all anywhere in the next bunch of months. How much of a chance are you willing to take for yourself? Basically, it's just it's what it comes down to. You know, but I don't know if this will change anyone's mind, and it certainly shouldn't. If you're feeling uncomfortable, you shouldn't read, oh, but they're going to do this queue system, or they're going to do something with the when you enter, they're going to test you. You know, I don't think that should be persuading you. Like I was going to say no, but you know what, maybe I will go now because they're doing this. So I guess that's my final thought on that. All right, well, another uplifting episode. Great.
Thanks.
For
Not
Writing!